Are you aware of the Claude has this new model called Mythos? You heard the news about this? So do you think that the LLMs are a tool or more than a tool?
I'm me here on the East Coast. I think we're a little bit more, electronic sign, go, go, go type mentality. But there are a whole generation, that kind of the baby boomers. They want to take it a little bit slower.
I mean, maybe you can unravel where the future is going in your industry. Where do you think it's going? What's going to happen in the next few years? AI, is it hype or help? G'day and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Pete Cooper, and our topic is AI, hype or help. Today's guest is Philip Coates. Philip is a financial advisor. He helps people plan their retirement so they have options when they get there. We're going to talk to him about how he uses it in his work and his personal life. So let's get into it. G'day, Philip. Welcome to the show. Thanks for
Thanks for
joining us. We know each other through a networking group, and you got introduced through a common friend of ours. But tell us and the audience what you do as a brief introduction.
Absolutely. So my name is Philip Coates. I am an advisor, and my team and I advise on retirement planning, investments, and insurance solutions with New York Life. We are based out of the DC area. We do work across the 50 states.
Right. So anyone who's a US citizen would be a client?
Absolutely. US citizen or here working, really based in US assets.
Right, right. So why would somebody want to do retirement planning? I know it's an obvious question, but I'd like to ask the pain point, and see where that goes.
Yeah, so the way we really phrase it is, retirement, when you get there, it's exactly what you do on a Saturday and Sunday, but it's every day of the week. So what do you want to do with your free time or your time where it's just you or your family? That's what
Hmm.
you're going to be able to do in retirement. How are we going to fund that? What level of lifestyle do you really want to live? And then
Hmm.
start making plans and start asking questions around that.
Right. And so what happens if someone doesn't do that? Do they end up in a bad situation, or is there a bit of FOMO there or?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on what your goals are. I mean, someone can not plan for retirement and kind of just leave it up to the wind. Especially in the
Mm,
US, we have, Social Security, we have some federally and locally funded programs, but it really limits your options. So the main idea, and this is something my dad always said, you have money, you have options.
mm,
So planning is an integral part of that, and at least leaving certain doors open is a good way of looking at it.
yeah. So an option might be I can keep my home, I can travel on a big holiday every year. I don't have to downsize necessarily. Those would all be options, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, cool, cool. I don't know much about financial planning, but a little bit of background in finance because I run my own business, and a lot of the stuff that I do is, I guess, retrospective or short-term plans, like, but not necessarily, long-term retirement planning. And hopefully, I'm still a few years away from that. But do you entertain people of all ages? Do you say people should join early or late or in the
Yeah,
middle?
so nothing's like the present to start is kind of
Mm,
the answer there. Now it changes what type of goal and what type of plan we're going to maybe present to you and give you options for. The younger you are, the more, avenues and maybe the higher risk you can take. We do work with everyone in any age or stage. I mean, I have clients who are 80 years old. I have clients who are 18 years old.
mm.
Uh, so it can be a really wide variety, but it's a very different outlook whenever you're talking to a young family rather than a 7-year old who's talking more about social security.
Mm.
So it's what is your priority, what is really applicable to you right now, and then starting getting something started is the biggest portion.
Yeah. Yeah. Philip, how long have you been doing this?
So I've been in the finance world for about 6 years now. I
Hmm.
graduated from the University of Maryland with a bachelor's in finance,
Hmm.
and then worked a little bit in more debt management and contract management with Navy Federal Credit Union. And then I'm going a couple of years now here with my practice with New York Life.
Hmm. Cool. Is it your own practice, or are you part of a franchise? How are you structured?
So I'm structured underneath the New York Life umbrella. It is my
Hmm.
practice. So clients
Hmm.
that come to me are my clients.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I do own my book of business.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks for the introduction. So, what's happening in tech? We'll get to AI, but what's happening in tech for you over those years? I mean, you're not like me as a somebody who started before
Right.
the internet, before computers even. And I was given a book to write things in, a real bookkeeping. My mother used to do the books for my father, who had his own business, and she did it literally on a Saturday morning, every Saturday morning with pen and paper. That was how she did this big ledger. Um, of course, it seems so archaic now. But what changes have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, I actually have, I think next to me in my filing cabinet, I have my spiral notebooks from college. So I have a little bit of that.
Hmm.
But I've also seen the other side of it. My second year in college, everyone said, "Hey, you're not coming to class anymore. You stay home." During COVID, when I really finished up my college. So seen both sides. It is paper, pen. It's kind of a thing of the past nowadays, what you see in the finance world.
Mm,
Um, even to the point of like balancing a checkbook, that's kind of a foreign or a lost skill.
yeah.
Um, but I've seen with New York Life specifically in the past couple of years, it's been a very slow progression of onboarding new technology, new processes. I know it's different for every company out there, but you have to think about our track record and our history. We have policies that are potentially 50, 60, 70 years old. We have to
Hmm.
integrate that. That's the kind of the positives and downsides of being in business for over 180 years. You just have so much backlog and back work to do to integrate new technology. On
Mm,
top of there's regulatory processes, there's checks and balances, there's security, um, keeping divisions and information, whether it's an investment advisor firm or keeping those so there's no insider trading
mm.
concerns. So a lot of the background to look at, yeah, and just keeping all that lines of communication
So,
open.
yeah, I got a friend of mine in Australia who's fairly senior with one of the big banks over there. In Australia, there's five big banks. He's right up there with one of them, handling massive programs in development. And he says he's so tired of being in meetings all about regulations and compliance. He says that's what he spends all of his time doing.
It can bog you down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in this very fast pace of tech change right now, in a way, it's a comfort to me to know that the banks are doing that and the finance world is doing that because, there's so many things that could go wrong when you're dealing with money and there's vulnerabilities open up and people become vulnerable to scams and things like that. You like to know that your bank is there's got your back, that if you put the money in the bank, it's going to be there when you need it. At the end of the
Right.
day, it's in simple terms. And if it's like the Wild West, you go to the bank and the bank's been robbed, and you lost your money too, right? Yeah,
Back in
nobody
the
wants
gold
that.
standard days. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, onto our topic about AI. So maybe just tell us if you're using AI at all, for just in your world, and how it's affecting your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do use AI almost every day, if not every day, in
Hmm.
either personal or business, mainly in business. I find that the perks of it and the streamlined use is nice for being a solo entrepreneur, essentially.
Mm.
I can do a lot of the day-to-day tasks I need done in minutes or seconds. Everything from either running through scenarios and talking through kind of numbers with me or writing emails, writing responses to correspondence. Now that kind of goes back to our last question, compliance. A lot of stuff has to
Mm.
go through compliance. And I submitted something yesterday and my compliance system asked me, is this AI generated? So just a little key of, I guess a lot of agents are using it because they added it to our questionnaire. Um, yeah, I don't know an agent that's really not using it or an advisor that's not using it right
Right.
now.
So when you use AI, are you using ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini? And that's that how you use it?
Yes, we are given actually subscriptions to ChatGPT for
Okay.
subsidized for those.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Okay. Well, I use it the same way. I made a commitment to double down on it this year, and it's paying off for me, the more I get into it. We're not an AI native company, but we've been in a, would you believe, since 2016, but on the vision system side of things. And that's about model development and camera development. But then we were blindsided, I guess, by the whole emergence of LLMs, and I'm still trying to figure out, how best to use it. And everybody who comes on to this podcast is using those chat bot type tools, and universally um, thinking that they're helpful, right? So,
Absolutely.
in what ways is it helpful for you, Philip?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit older in the business now, but when I first started, we had some of the programs that were rolling out. They were a little orphaned at the beginning, but now we have interactive conversations. So a lot of what we do is client facing,
Hmm.
having that those right things to say, knowing how to pivot if there's an objection. We had interactive AI conversations that we could go on and talk back and forth without being client facing,
Right.
without possibly. Um,
That's a
you know,
good idea. So, like your sales training, but doing it with the bot.
Yes.
Mm.
Yep. And it would give you different responses. You can kind of pick and tether what conversation you want to have. If you want to have it on a product, just a general conversation. And then you can also pick the level of difficulty. So the
Mm.
more advanced advisors weren't getting bored of, oh, this is a 5-second conversation. That's not real concern, right?
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
so that was nice. That was good for all levels of agents to really have that resource.
What I like about what you just said is that you're not using the chatbot without in isolation and expecting that to be everything, because you get to take that and then go in front of a real client and see if it actually worked.
Right.
And I think that's a really neat way to use it. It's just making you do your job better, better prepared, making you better but not disconnecting from the real world. And I think that's where there's a danger in its use, is that we take everything that's said as being the truth, and it can be very overly optimistic in some areas and completely wrong, and but be very, very confident.
Right.
And you just take it, and then you could be setting yourself up for a big failure. But that's a small failure. If you're testing it and you go down the wrong path, you can recover the conversation and take it, another way pretty easily, because it's dynamic and it's human. Nobody expects perfection. Yeah, that's great. I mean, anywhere else that you're using it?
So we do use it, and I advise all the newer agents I either mentor or talk to look at the product information. So we have fact sheets for all of our products or our
Hmm.
investments.
Hmm.
A prospectus for a new investment would be a great thing to look at. Upload either PDF, upload the terms, and then just ask it questions or have it kind of break it down and then have it ask you questions. For us, we need to know the terms of the riders of the investments. Um, and just going that factual information again, more geared towards the newer agents, the newer advisors who
I,
may not be as seasoned in the terms. Um, but then you can kind of put those hand in hand, right? You can
mm,
say, hey, you share the two LMs together. You can say, hey, this conversation we're having, take some details from it, give me either objections or ask me questions based off of the facts I gave you. So
mm,
and ChatGPT knows this is the product we're talking about. These are the terms.
yeah, yeah,
And
right.
then it gets into, again, client face, being able to have that experience without
Hmm.
actually experiencing it in front of a client. Because
Mm,
anyone who's been in front of a client before knows it's very easy to get tongue tied, very easy to lose your place, and then just kind of get all off track. So it's a
yeah,
great
yeah,
resource
yeah.
for that.
So, what I noticed with something like a contract, and I had a podcast guest on who was talking, he was in the legal side, and he was saying, well, look, there's a history to how contracts and documents are created, and certain words have quite a lot of inference, right? And if you try to take those words and put them and have the LLM describe it in its own words, it may change the meaning slightly. Because if you go in front of a judge, he's going to say, well, those words mean this, but those words actually don't mean the same thing. And so I think where you're going with it, maybe you agree with me, I don't know, but it's really good to help you understand and unravel the contract, but but need to be careful how far you can take it. I think you'd be getting into danger, at least he was saying, if you say, well, just write me a contract
Mm.
and
Right.
make it simple that I can understand and expect that to stand up. And you're going to be in that world, right, where the contract really means something.
Absolutely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've seen that before where I've had clients ask me, what does this term mean? Because I looked it up on Google or something like that. And it's like, be very careful with that because everyone nowadays, the first response is AI telling you what it is,
Hmm.
right? The Google search engine. So
Hmm.
it can be a slippery slope and something I'm worried about a little bit, especially when I talk to younger clients. You don't really see it in the older realm, but
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
definitely had that.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm a little bit older than you, Philip, but I see that as a kind of things have flipped a little bit, that people who've had such long life experience in my generation and older, they can spot those errors pretty quickly, right? Just, oh, I know that doesn't make sense because I actually experienced that back over here and I know that's wrong. And someone that's, I guess, growing up now or leaving school now with AI under their belt, they just assume everything's correct, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, it's great for certain things, but if you really want to get factual evidence on it, I would get something in writing, you know, actually learn,
Yeah.
get to the bottom, get to the root.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the next generation where we get to something more trustworthy. I was at a construction conference talking about what's happening in AI in construction, and a professor from Yale University working in AI said, he says, I don't believe in AGI, artificial general intelligence. He says, I think that's a misnomer. I don't think it's going to be real. And if it is real, we're not on the right track for it because the tools that are developing now with these models are not that. He said because there's a disconnection between, like, it's a pattern recognition engine and it's just trained on lots of patterns, and that doesn't correlate to the physics of the real world. There needs to be something else, which hasn't been developed yet, which says this is what the real world is like. Then maybe the two things come together. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've seen that because I've seen it make up stories or make up things that are not true. Like that's,
Hmm.
and I've even told it, you need to relook at that,
Yes.
type of new
Yes.
response and you check
Hmm.
yourself. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I I've seen that with people coming out of college nowadays. I don't know if this is a topic we were going to get to, but I don't necessarily see it as a benefit for the younger generation. I think that information levels and knowledge levels have become shallower and more widespread
Mm.
rather than really deep understanding or a level of knowledge that we've maybe had in prior generations. I think that's one thing we've
Ah,
lost.
interesting observation, right. So I was taught at college that the knowledge, your knowledge is like a tea, right? Um, it can be like a tea, I suppose, and that is that you have broad knowledge, but then you also have a specialization where you can go deep into one area. And I think what you've said is that kind of depth going down is almost just getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
I don't know if I'm in a bubble, but from my observations, yes. I mean,
Mm,
nowadays kids don't really know anything. I say kids, I'm a kid myself, but people coming out of college, they're very kind of a shallow depth of knowledge unless they've had some experiences. I mean, that changes whenever you can say, I've done this or I've seen this.
yeah.
Even even me having a background in finance and coming into this world, coming to New York life, I had mind opening and eye opening conversations that I'd never thought about prior. And
Mm, mm,
even with 6 years already in the finance world, I was kind of having my eyes opened.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think one of the experiences I have is I just recently brought on some college grads. Great, they were great, but they would generate reports and documents for me that I knew straight away they just prompted. And I was encouraging that. I said, And I do still encourage that, but I said you have to know every single word and you have to stand behind everything that you've sent to me. I said, I do not want to be reading something that you've AI generated.
Right.
I'm not here for that. I'm here to talk to you as a person. You have to make sure that if you present it to me, it's yours. You cannot excuse yourself for anything wrong in here. That just because you use the prompt engine, that's just your tool. You have to be like a hammer. You can't blame the hammer for hitting your thumb, right? You're the one wielding it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do you think that the LLMs are a tool or more than a tool for you? Do you think how do you
I
view it?
think I think at this current stage or this generation, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of as far as you should go with it.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's a great tool. I mean, just look at like call trees, phone trees now. Whenever you
Mm.
call any type of business, it's gets you a better answer if you're again looking at that surface level.
Mm.
But once we start digging a little deeper, I think that the personal side of it, especially in the finance world, having that personal experience and knowing how to pivot and really understand where someone's coming from is
Mm.
much more valuable.
So for the audience, what's a call tree?
Yeah, so anytime you were to call, let's say like a bank, a big bank, and you have questions about your credit card, you have to go
Hmm.
through 5 prompts. Instead of
Hmm.
having to go through the prompts, you talk to more of an AI, generation, and it gives you the answers you need rather than select one, select five, that
Mm.
type of
Yes, yes.
conversation.
So that we're going into that sort of online chat support chatbot type thing, right? So you
Right.
mean when rather than phoning up and waiting on the call, you actually go online and you start going through the chatbot.
Right. And in that circumstance, I think it's a better tool than, and I see business owners all the time. They want to implement something to streamline the process and have their employees either work on other projects or dedicate more towards the more in-depth problems that clients are having.
Mm, mm. So I had an experience just a couple of days ago with a chatbot, and both me and my senior engineer were getting quite frustrated because we had a problem and we were going back and forward, and must have been half an hour, and then it still had to call up an admin person, and then they're
Right.
asking a whole series of questions. It just went on and on and on. I sometimes wonder in that sense, here again, it's the implementation, right? It can be really good, but it can also be pretty lousy. In that experience, it was pretty lousy because it just was so time consuming. All the burden of trying to unravel it all was on us. I mean, it didn't know where I was in the website, the problems I was having. It wasn't prepared to look at them. Didn't give me a channel to look at them. I had to copy and paste everything over, and then we just couldn't resolve it. And we had to go around it a few times to convince it that we weren't getting anywhere. And then it finally got to a human person, and then we're waiting for that. So it created, I guess, more friction than rather than less. Back in the day, before pre-internet, I would go to the bank every week and I would
Right.
do my banking. I would put my money in and I would take my money out and I would go to the bank when I needed something. And if I had a problem, I'd talk to the teller. Of course, I had to physically go there, which was time consuming, park my car, you know, queue up, do my banking and come out. Um, but at least when I was there with the person, I can express clearly the problem and they can fix it fairly seamlessly because I'm right over the teller, right? I guess we've traded off the difficulty of the physical world getting there, but now we have to pay for it because of the chat bot and all the barriers that are there, which to me kind of seem more frustrating.
No, I get that. And something we haven't even really talked about is you probably had a relationship with that teller.
Right.
You
That's
maybe
right.
knew the banker's name. You
Yep.
saw the same people when you came in. So I've seen it kind of across the country be a little bit different. I'm me here on the East Coast. I think we're a little bit more, electronic sign, go, go, go. Can't wait for the elevator, kind of get faster,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
type mentality. But there are a whole generation, that kind of the baby boomers. They want to take it a little bit slower. They may want pen and paper.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they want that banker to talk to. So again, pretty diverse group, pretty diverse answer depending on who you're talking to.
Mm. So, in your world, it sounds like there's still a human interaction needed. Is that diminishing? Are you sort of having to be bipodal? You have to have the personal touch with a, say, older generation, and the younger generation just want to do it all through a chatbot?
Absolutely. I found the younger generation kind of just want to click, fill in the boxes. Um, and then the older generation, they want to sit down, they want to talk to you, they want to come to the office.
Mm,
For example, I mean, this week I was talking to two younger people. I never even saw them. We did it over the phone on a phone
mm,
call, like
mm,
policies in place. Whereas my retiree client, he wants to come into the office. We're gonna look at the contract together, wet signature,
mm-hmm,
check.
mm-hmm.
So you do definitely have to be able to pivot, and you have to be able to do both at the same time.
Nice. Okay, that's a really good tip for anyone listening, including me, when we do our sales work. Having that bipodal sit between the two things and just pivot depending on the client. So is it implied then, I mean, maybe you can unravel where the future is going in your industry. Where do you think it's going? What's going to happen in the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think more and more people will look towards financial professionals. Especially as we get into the age of kind of information is constantly changing and constantly running faster. 'Cause that's
Mm,
ultimately what we've really seen with dot-com bubble, just the growth of the internet. Information has become more widespread,
mm,
uh, but being able to pivot. From
mm,
what I've seen, a lot of the AI models, they're not able to understand the big picture.
mm,
And that's something your advisor is gonna either one know already because of prior interactions,
mm,
or be able to observe and connect dots and ask the right pivotal questions.
mm. Yeah. Well, that's a good way to frame it. Are you aware of the? I wanted to bring this one up. It just come to mind. The new Claude has this new model called Mythos. Have you heard the news about this?
I have
Um,
not.
oh, it's threatening the world if you want to take it
Oh
that way.
no. Okay.
It is so powerful that they don't want to release it to the public. They're releasing it to the likes of Microsoft and Amazon so that they can use it to tighten up their systems. And what they've found when they run this model on software, vulnerabilities that have been sitting in there for like Linux for 25 years. And if that vulnerability is exposed through this new tool, you can take down literally half the servers in the world
Wow.
with this virus. I think banking systems are built maybe even more robust than that written in different languages, but modern servers aren't. They're written on Linux and they're written on, stuff that's less than 20 years old, and they have vulnerabilities that no one's even aware of. They can't release this to us, to the general public, because there'll be the bad actors out there who'll just get it and just go straight after those vulnerabilities. So they need to get ahead of it. And that's going to trickle down. I think, anybody there's the tech world. JP Morgan's included in that group as well. And then there'll be this next layer of things coming through. All the financial institutions are going to have to harden their stuff up. They're going to have
Right.
access to it, and then it'll roll down to the likes of you and me. Who would have thought that was coming? I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's not something I think we really realized was going to be an option whenever
Yeah.
whenever it was released. But yeah, I've seen that in the finance world, they've been hesitant because of that. I mean, like I said at the beginning, we have hundreds of years of contracts in our database. It's just very difficult to integrate safely.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Philip, we're coming to the end. Do you have any questions for me?
no, not off the top of my head.
Well, I've got one very important question for you. AI, is it hype or help?
I think it's help under the right circumstances.
Hmm. Do you think you can see how you're going to adapt yourself to those right circumstances and what they might be?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like I said in in the middle, definitely use it as a tool, not necessarily
Hmm.
as the end all be all. I think that the people who promise it as the savior are definitely overhyping it,
Mm.
whereas it should be that hammer, that screwdriver in your tool belt that you can use it for the right aspects, use it for the right questions, and then fill in the cracks and double check it with experiences and your own personal knowledge.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a good summary, Philip. Look, thanks for being on with us. Really enjoyed you talking to us about AI and your finance world. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, that was great talking to Philip about his world and what he does with AI. One of the things we touched on was sales training, using a bot like ChatGPT to riff off of, go back and forward, what happens when there's objections and how to handle and pivot a conversation to practice sales training. I thought that was a great tip. He uses it on a daily basis, and it helps him with his work, and some of the areas that he uses it to understand contracts, particularly not so much him, but people younger than him coming in to try to navigate the contracts and understand them in ways that are simple and easy. Now, he did point out some warnings, that to assume that everything that the LLM says is correct is a falsehood, and we should be very careful about that. And he felt that he has enough industry experience to know which way is up, but often the new generation do not have that. And he pointed out that people coming out of college have what he calls a very shallow but broad experience in life, not a lot of depth. And I think the LLMs kind of do not help that, in my opinion. I think we both agreed on that. Look, if you want to know more about Skillion, please follow the links in the description. We also leave a description for our guest, for Philip. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.